Good evening. My name is Mindy McLean Stone, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Whidbey Island. I'm also a member of our Forum Committee. I'll be this evening's moderator. My fellow League panelist is Joanna Rooms, timekeeper. Our co-president, Carol Pulliam, is our Zoom platform manager, and Karen Bolstad is providing additional technical support. I'd like to welcome the candidates participating in tonight's forum, which is co-sponsored by Snow Isle Libraries. We have candidates for Langley Mayor, Langley City Council Positions 3 and 4, and Whidbey Health Public Hospital Commissioners Positions 1 and 5. All candidates received copies of our League's forum policy and ground rules, as well as recording releases. These documents outline forum structure, expectations for civil discourse, and our commitment to treat all participants with fairness and respect. We appreciate candidates' willingness to participate in this important voter information event. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influence public policy through research, education, and advocacy. We endeavor to make democracy work by offering events like this, by registering voters, and much more. Go to our website at www.lwvwhidbey.org to learn more or become a member. Snow Isle Library's mission is to provide resources to the community for lifelong learning. Our partnership enables us to pool our resources to provide neutral and unbiased information to the public. Visit the library website at www.snowisle.org to learn all about their services. The format for this evening will be standard Q&A. The questions have been selected in advance by our forum committee, and none of the questions have been disclosed to the candidates prior to this forum. The moderator will pose all the questions. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer all questions. Each candidate will also have an opportunity for 2 minutes for a closing statement. The order of candidates in respect to questions has been determined in advance by League organizers to ensure random and fair sequence. The first responder to a question will have 90 seconds to answer. The remaining candidates will have 60 seconds to answer. The timekeeper will signal time is up by showing a red card or saying time's up. This forum is being recorded by the League. A link for viewing it will be posted on our website. No other recording is permitted. Any use of the recording requires approval by the League of Women Voters of Whidbey Island, and then with the caveat that it must be broadcast in its entirety. No candidate is allowed to edit or use the footage for campaign purposes. We'll begin with questions for the candidates for Langley Mayor. When candidates have concluded their closing remarks, closing statements, we'll transition to the candidates for Langley City Council, positions 3 and 4, and finally to candidates for Public Hospital Commissioner positions 1 and 5. So let's begin. The candidates for Langley Mayor are Thomas Gill and Kennedy Horstman. The City of Langley Mayor. The mayor is elected at large for 4-year terms. The mayor is the CEO of the city and officially speaks for both the government and the community as a whole. The mayor is the presiding officer and a regular member of the city council and has all the powers and duties for the office of council member in addition to those of mayor. The candidates are Thomas Gill and Kennedy Horstman. And this first question goes to Kennedy. And Kennedy, you have 90 minutes to respond. Question number
90
one.
seconds.
90
I think that's
seconds.
90 seconds. I'm really happy it's only 90
My
seconds.
apologies.
Yep.
My apologies.
Go ahead.
How does the recent hiring of a city administrator change the role of mayor? Under this new structure, please describe the degree of executive authority that is concentrated in the Langley mayor's office.
The mayor of Langley continues to hold all of the authority that the mayor held before the administrator position was approved. The mayor continues to be the ultimate authority and chief executive officer. The role of the city clerk administrator is really the day-to-day running of City Hall. They're responsible for directly supervising the department heads, acting as the overall HR manager for the city, and administering the city's legal obligations, including records, notices, and contracts. In a town of 1,100 people, it's very difficult to field qualified candidates for mayor who possess all of those skills. So the way I envision this working is the administrator essentially functions as chief of staff, and the mayor continues as chief executive officer. To ensure smooth operation, Langley really needs professional management across administrations. I'm running in part because I believe that the city clerk administrator role is critical to achieving stability and continuity for Langley. And I have the experience as a management consultant to help establish that position appropriately.
Thank you. Thomas Gill, you have 60 seconds to respond.
I have to agree with my esteemed opponent with most of what was stated about the role of the mayor and of the clerk administrator. In the past, this job has been performed by the clerk of the city, the clerk treasurer, and I don't really see that changing as an administrator clerk. Just simply a new title, similar responsibilities, but focusing on the management of the staff, ensuring that the day-to-day operations of the city are managed properly, correctly, and that the clerking duties are appropriately handled and not left to chance or improperly performed.
Thank you. The second question. How would you this question goes to Thomas Gill. You will have the first opportunity to respond and have 90 seconds. How would you characterize the current working relationship between the mayor and the city council members? How would you improve that relationship to effectively address the business of running the city?
At present, the council and the mayor have a working relationship. It's not always the most amicable, but it gets the job done. To improve, the best thing I can say is education, education, education. The members of the council, the mayor, the staff, all need to understand what their duties are, what they can do, what they can't do, and ensure the city is not liable for errors or mistakes that may be done accidentally or with malice. And having an open door relationship, which is always been my policy in politics, is any questions, any concerns, I'm there to hear. I'm there to hear what's going on and not to solve the problem, but to start the process of solving the problem.
Thank you. Kennedy, Horstman, you have 60 seconds to respond.
You are muted.
I would characterize the current working relationship between the mayor and city council members as poor. As a leader, I emphasize collaboration and empowerment of all stakeholders by building a culture of explicit, shared, and actively practiced values, starting with transparency, accountability, and service. In terms of improving the relationship between the city council and the mayor, reliability is sort of what comes of transparency, accountability, and service. So one thing that needs to happen is reliable meeting cadence, reliable agendas, and reliable follow through on commitments. These are all things that have been missing with the current administration. They are basic and they are necessary for the function of our democracy. I have experience facilitating meetings. I have experience running meetings, and I have experience establishing trust with stakeholders.
Time.
Thanks.
Thank you. This next question, number 3. What actions would you propose to reduce the city's climate footprint to bring it in alignment with the goals of the Paris Agreement? And Kennedy Horstman, you have 90 seconds.
The comprehensive plan, land use zoning, and building codes are some of the best tools we have to pursue climate impact mitigation. All development is currently required to meet energy use standards, but unlike private development, affordable housing projects that receive state funding are required to meet much higher standards. They're called the Evergreen Sustainable Development Standards. This is in part why affordable housing can be really expensive to build. But if we are interested in addressing the challenges that are going to be presented to us through climate, it's really important that we meet higher standards. It strikes me that if it's appropriate for publicly funded low-income housing efforts, it should be applicable to for-profit development. As a mayor, I would encourage the city to adopt standards closer to the Evergreen Sustainable Development Standards for all building projects.
Thank you. Thomas Gill, you have 60 seconds to respond.
And again, I have to agree. The Evergreen building standards are a great model to focus on and to encourage and incentivize construction within the city to follow them, to follow LEED, to follow all the different possible combinations of requirements in order to reduce the impact the city has. But the city itself can do the same by investing in green energy, both locally produced and sourced through our existing grid, by reducing the amount of vehicle emissions we use, having more efficient or better vehicles for both the police and public works, and to do our best to utilize technologies like Zoom here for our long distance commitments.
Thank you. Question 4. Langley established a Dismantling Systemic Racism Commission a few years ago. Please explain the underlying reasons for the establishment of this commission and how you would like the city to continue its work in this arena. And Thomas, you have 90 seconds to respond.
I was part of the council that created this organization, and I stand behind their purpose for being, to identify the shortcomings in the way the city operates, in its code, in its comprehensive plan, and other things that aren't as visible to most people who are not directly affected by this systemic racism that has occurred over the last 200 plus years. And it's important that we have the members of that organization and the members of the community be part of our community, to be part of city organizations, our commissions, our boards, to be on the council, to come to us when there are problems or things that we can't see because it doesn't affect us. I've myself had similar issues with accessibility. I've had some physical setbacks on occasion the last 5 or 6 years. And to see the way that things are not made to work that way gives me a small glimmer, a small glimpse into the world that I have no idea about, that the people of our community who are of the BIPOC community deal with all the time. And I would love to understand more and do our best to attempt to correct the mistakes of the past.
Thank you. Kennedy Horstman, you have 60 seconds to respond.
I was a founding member of the Dismantling Systemic Racism Commission. I am the current chair of this commission. And the commission was formed because there's a recognition that we all live in, we swim in systemic racism. And there was a recognition that the city needed folks to come together and provide advice, in particular the city council. Frankly, we had a rough go of it to start. I feel like we've finally gotten our footing. And one of the things that has become really clear is that the role of the DSR is advising city council. That is not enough to achieve a goal of becoming an anti-racist city. So in terms of being the mayor, where I would like this to go is to continue to have the commission, but also to help the commission and encourage the commission to continue to engage particularly BIPOC folks in our community to make sure that there is an open channel of communication, regardless of whether or not people feel comfortable doing it in public or
Thank you. Thank you. Question 5. There is substantial agreement on the growing urgency to develop affordable workforce housing in Langley. What steps has the city taken recently to address this problem? And what ideas do you have to accelerate the development of affordable housing? Kennedy Horstman, you have 90 seconds to respond.
The city has done quite a bit of work in this area, most recently in terms of the housing advocacy group and also the multifamily infill. But there is quite a bit of work that remains to be done in spite of these solid steps. So things that we can continue to do that we need to pursue, we've got to update the housing action plan and comprehensive plans so that they explicitly define the number of units that we need to create or preserve to support income, housing type, and demographic diversity. We've got to update the land use codes so they actually result in more housing units. And we need to work with the county to ensure that the 0.1% of sales tax is used to address housing needs in and around Langley. But the affordable housing challenge is social, economic, and interconnected. We can't resolve it in a vacuum. We've got to collaborate, build coalitions, and advocate with residents and local businesses, community organizations and nonprofits, and also county, state, and federal government entities.
Thank you. Thomas Gill, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Affordable housing and workforce housing are immensely needed. The city has worked with the Port of South Whitby in their project at the fairgrounds. It worked with Think for the Tiny Homes for Christ, and has worked diligently over the last 10 years to improve its code. But there's a long way to go. Land use, the multifamily infill, and just being able to take advantage of what land we have in Langley to address this issue. There is no place else on South Whitby where it can be done effectively. Langley has to be it, and we need to understand that and plan for it. We have the tools. We need the advocacy from our own community and from our government, both as the mayor, the council, and even into the state and federal levels to get it done.
Time.
It's desperately needed.
Thank you. Question 6. What is your experience as a supervisor, and what would you consider to be your leadership style? Thomas Gill, you may have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. I was editor of my college newspaper. As most can understand, that takes a lot of effort dealing with the college students and making sure that they can meet deadlines. I have been the chair of multiple organizations, both running meetings in Robert's Rules style and having collaborative discussions, including 4 years as the chair of the Planning Advisory Board for the City of Langley, the Civil Service Board, and I would say my leadership style is a collaborative one. I know I don't have all the answers. I may have some good ideas, but the answers come from the collaborative process. And everyone has their own point of view and their own history that come together to form something that can actually function and be usable. And that's something that's sorely lost in our democracy. And we need to understand that we may have different opinions, we may have different ideas, but if we talk among ourselves and learn from each other, we will find common ground and move forward together.
Thank you. Kennedy Horstman, you have 60 seconds to respond.
I have over 25 years of supervisory and organizational leadership experience. As I mentioned, I emphasize collaboration and empowerment of all stakeholders. And the way to build empowerment and trust is to establish and commit to shared values. That forms a healthy organization. And this would be my first step with staff and other elected officials, but it's only a first step. Building a healthy culture requires ongoing commitment and practice, incorporating those values into everything the organization does. As a leader, it requires consistent leadership by example, particularly with gracefully and thoughtfully accepting bad news or criticism. Embracing critique is also an important step in fostering inclusion by making it safe for all voices, not just the voices who agree to be heard.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the candidates' closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. And Thomas Gill, we will begin with you.
Thank you. I do need to thank the League of Women Voters Whidbey Island and Snow Isle for this opportunity. I have lived in Langley for 35 years. I have seen it grow and change. And unfortunately, I've seen it stagnate in these last 15. There are a lot of things that this community needs. The city is the best place for those needs to be met. And we need to look forward. We're at a crossroads. If we don't make the right decisions, if we don't have the right plans, the ones that will, from all of our knowledge, from all of our history, will work, we may not even be here. We may have to import all of our labor. We may not have the people to even sit on city council. But we need to have those conversations and plan for the future. I want Langley to be here in 20 years. I want Langley to be here in 50 years. Hell, I'd like to see it reach its centennial, its bicentennial. And I feel that knowing how the city has behaved in the past and my experience, 14 years in the city government, is crucial to ensuring that happens correctly and without the stumbles that we have seen in the past. The worst thing you can do is not learn from the past, because otherwise you're destined to repeat it.
Thank you. Kennedy Horstman, your closing statement.
I'm running to be the next mayor of Langley because I care about our community, because I care about democracy and our local government's role in it, and because I have the skills and experience to make a difference. We need transparent, accountable, and functional government, and Langley needs a mayor with the leadership experience to deliver. I have a proven track record leading organizations to better serve their constituents. Langley provides 24/7 utility and public safety services. I've built and led teams delivering 24/7 services to companies like United and to cities like the city of San Diego. Langley desperately needs better IT and records management. I led the team that stood up document management for Perkins Coie, the largest law firm in the Pacific Northwest. I've held asset management and information security policy responsibility at Boeing. I've consulted with companies that build websites for cities, water utilities, and public libraries. And in all of this work, I focus on building what matters for the long term, bringing stakeholders with diverse interests together to design solutions that work in the real world for real people, solutions that can be maintained and secured over time, and building healthy, resilient organizations that can weather and respond to tough situations. I want my legacy as mayor to be a solid organization that reliably delivers services to our community, whether that's in the form of productive city council meetings or a city hall that's easy to work with and proactively seeks input from residents and businesses on policies that affect them, or land use codes that encourage and result in affordable housing units. I'm asking for your vote. Together, we can make Langley work for everyone. Thank you, and thank you to Snow Isle and the League of Women Voters for allowing this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, and thank you to the candidates for Langley Mayor, Thomas Gill, and Kennedy Horstman. Next, we'll proceed with our Q&A for the panel of candidates for Langley City Council. Present tonight for position 3 are candidates Chris Carlson and Kay Kennyweg. Present tonight for position 4 is Craig Sear. Scott Chaplin unfortunately did not respond to 3 invitations, so voters won't be able to hear his views. The Langley City Council has a mayor the city of Langley has a mayor council form of government. The city council sets policy, with the mayor responsible for policy implementation and overseeing the daily operations of the city. The council enacts ordinances and resolutions, holds public hearings, approves development plans, receives citizen suggestions and complaints, authorizes payments of city funds, approves contracts, creates committees and boards to assist in the operation of city government, and much more. 5 council members are elected at large to a staggered 4-year terms. For position 3 is Chris Carlson and Kay Kennyweg. And for position 4 is Scott Chaplin and Craig Sear. We'll begin our questions with question number 1. And this question will go to Chris Carlson first, and he will have 90 seconds to respond. The council has identified global issues such as affordable housing, climate change, and diversity as the greatest issues facing the city. Where do completing the Langley infrastructure project, fixing the water system, and balancing sewage treatment capacity with reasonable utility rates fit into these priorities? Chris Carlson, you may respond, and you have 90 seconds.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So this is a great encapsulation of the numerous challenges that Langley faces in the coming years. And the Langley infrastructure project is in particular addressing years of issues that have happened in the past, where addressing our aging utility system for water, sewer, and stormwater has been neglected. So we're now trying to play catch up. And in the constellation of issues that need to be prioritized, the Langley Infrastructure Project is going to be something that we need to address on day one, because there is a major decision that needs to be made in relation to a $3.5 million budget shortfall with that project, beyond what was approved by voters in a bond and a grant that was received from the county. So we are working on this right now on the commission that I chair, the Finance and Personnel Legislative Commission, to look at the financial impacts of pursuing a $3.5 million loan to cover that shortfall and alternatives. And it's going to take a thoughtful process of evaluating that so that the council can make an informed decision by February of 2024. So this is an active issue with a timeline at the beginning.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Kenny Wegg, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Can I let Chris finish saying what he was saying? Because I was curious.
I'm sorry, would you?
I was done. That's fine.
Oh,
Oh, you were? Okay. Just
okay.
because that was so interesting to hear that, as I don't know everything about everything, and I'm glad you do. Appreciate you and all you're doing for the city on all the committees that you have been sitting on. So I am concerned also with that and finding out more about it all the time. I have been going to the city council meetings, and I'm noticed though, just because there are so many people that are getting voted in this election, that they're putting everything off until next year, which is I'm concerned about, but that's just me. Talking to the citizens in town, they are really concerned about the utility rates because other than their mortgage, it's one of the biggest bills that they have, unfortunately. So fixing the infrastructure is really important because I noticed that talking to people, my constituents in town, that they've been falling on the sidewalks, like going near Wicca and places. So it's really important for accessibility to keep our cities safe for others.
Time.
Anything else you'd like to know?
Time.
Thank you, Kay. And
Enjoy your day.
Okay, Craig Sear, you have 60 seconds to respond. Craig?
Yes, I didn't expect
There
to
you
be
are.
talking right now. Well, I mean, the Langley Infrastructure Project is priority one for 2024. It has been a long time coming as we've done the planning for this. I sit on the Public Works Advisory Commission, making decisions about how to proceed. And as the chair of the Finance Personnel Legislative Commission, Chris Carlson, mentioned, there's some significant decisions coming up about the low interest loan that has been made available to Langley. This is a critical piece of financing that will allow the city, hopefully, to cover the rest of the project. We are short because of the impacts to the trades, because of COVID, significant inflation, supply chain issues, etc.
Time.
Fixing the water system in Langley. Did I hear time?
Time. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. This next question, question 2. Please describe your view of an ideal working relationship between city council members and how they should interact with the mayor for effective governance. Kay Kennywig, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. Going to the meetings, I wish there would be more civility, politeness. The city council members stop talking over other city council members, politeness, addressing the mayor when they're talking to him, just and be specific in what they want done. That's all.
Thank you. Craig, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you for the question. The relationship between the city council and the mayor needs to be a collaborative one with trust that allows us to accomplish the important work that we are doing on behalf of the city of Langley. Ideally, it would be collaborative. The trains would run on time. And I have served as mayor pro tem, and there have been times when the council has had to provide checks, basically checks and balances with the executive. And there needs to be trust. I think we can definitely improve the trust between the council and the mayor, or the new mayor. That's something that is in short supply at the moment. So the ideal working relationship would have established trust between the council and the mayor.
Thank you. Chris Carlson, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thanks. Yeah, I think what Kay, Craig, and then before that, Thomas and Kennedy as well. I think we're all on the same page that that ideally it's a collaborative relationship that's working towards shared goals, that builds trust between the council, the mayor, and the staff that report to the council or report to the mayor. And that we have mutual respect for each other. It's just kind of basic norms for how society should work, and that should be, a model that is, performed by the council and the mayor for everyone to see. One of the other kind of key aspects that make meetings work in this case is also following Robert's Rules of Order. There's some basic facilitation things that I think this council and mayor at times forget or miss the mark on some of the basic functionality of meetings. So that's another area to improve.
Thank you. Question number 3. In 2019, Langley residents voted to tax themselves $4 million to repair badly needed infrastructure. Now the city is considering a $3.5 million loan in addition to the bond to cover overages. How will this additional loan be paid for, and will it result in higher utility fees for residents? And Craig, Craig Sear, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Yes, this is certainly an excellent question. The Public Works Advisory Commission is working with our Public Works Director in partnership with the Financial Personnel Legislative Commission about exactly this topic. This loan is an extraordinarily important component of the Langley Infrastructure Project. It acts like a credit line so that when and if we need to access additional funds, we will be able to take pieces of the loan and pay for whatever projects we need. Now think of it, it's a credit line. It allows us to seek out grants that may become available. It's really just an ideal component. As far as how the loan will be paid, it likely will come out of rates. It's important to remember that this project is going to get done whether we do it with all this grant money and low interest loan money, or if we don't take advantage of it, the project will get done on the decrepit infrastructure schedule, not on our own schedule that we've developed. So we have to pay for this one way or the other, and I hope we will pay for it using the grant money and loan money and the bond money that has been provided.
Thank you. Chris Carlson, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Yeah, so as I mentioned with the previous question regarding LIP, I am currently chair of the Finance and Personnel Legislative Commission, and so I'm currently directly involved in organizing a presentation to the City Council related to this decision. There is ongoing financial analysis evaluating the implications of different options for moving LIP forward. And I personally don't believe that decisions of this magnitude should be made until we know how it's going to impact the community and until the community has been communicated what those impacts are, and that we as a council can hear from them on that topic. So we don't know what exactly the impacts will be yet. We will in the next month or two, and hopefully at that point we'll have a good public engagement on this big decision. And, you know, like Craig said, one way or another, this work needs to be done. It's addressing a backlog of faulty pipes and water and sewer systems. And so,
Time.
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Kennewick, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you. And I go along with what Chris and Craig have said. To me, it's important, though, that the whole city who will be impacted by your decisions are communicated with. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 4. A council member's role is to make policy decisions and enact laws. What is your experience in policy making, and what are your priorities for the city? Kay Kennewick, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. So my experience in policy making is by giving input to the policy makers and writing letters on what I believe is important at the time. My priorities for the city is communicating with all city members on how they're going to be impacted by the different bonds and fundings that needed to be done, as a lot of people are on fixed incomes and the like. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Since 2020, when I came onto the city council, I've been a part of it, passing ordinances and resolutions and laws. I've been council contact to 2 city commissions, the Dismantling Systemic Racism Commission and the Public Works Advisory Commission. Both of those are important to the city and have made significant impacts. I've also served as vice chair on Island Transit, where we passed a $42 million project to electrify Island Transit and take it away from fossil fuels to a battery electric, hydrogen electric future. Those are priorities of mine to continue to electrify Island Transit and electrify Langley City government, as well as push forward the dismantling systemic racism goals. The commission has a lot of work to do. Langley has a lot of work to do to become the friendly, anti-racist community that it tells itself it already is.
Thank you, Craig Sear. Chris Carlson, you have 60 seconds to respond.
My experience with policy is that I have an executive master's degree in public administration from the University of Washington, which provided me with a background and expertise in policy development. And so my understanding of decision making frameworks and how to methodically analyze policy problems and come up with a set of solutions that can be, thought through and thoughtfully implemented is kind of a core part of my background and approach to public policy. My experience with actually developing policy is that as chair of the Finance and Personnel Commission, I wrote the ordinances that the city passed for reorganizing the clerk treasurer position into city administrator and finance director. And so,
Aye.
yeah, thanks.
Would you like to finish your sentence?
I'll speak to my priorities as a part of the statement.
Okay, thank you. Question 5. The city of Langley has declared a climate emergency. What are the most important steps for Langley to take to prepare, mitigate, and adapt to this crisis? And Craig, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Langley's a coastal community, so we have to look right down at our coast and understand where our vulnerability is there. Seaway Park and Seawall Park and the Langley Harbor are areas we have to make sure are resilient. Resiliency is important with climate change. I've already talked about my hope that Langley will continue to electrify and also will take advantage of a lot of the Department of Commerce funding to electrify agencies, nonprofits inside the city of Langley. I was really gratified the Department of Commerce has awarded Langley a $60,000 grant to study that. These are the kinds of actions that we can take that will prepare Langley for what's coming at us.
Thank you. Kay Kennewick, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, I'd like for Langley to use the bus more, if it's possible, and the citizens to, if they are able to afford electric cars, get electric cars, put more of the electric car charging stations around town, and also at the bus transit stations. I'd like for us to get more solar on the buildings with grants, supposedly, if they're available, and just to let the students in Langley know that they can walk places instead of having to buy a car. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 6.
Did you want me to answer that?
That's great.
Oh,
Needs
did
to-
I skip? I'm sorry, I got mixed up here. Chris, please, 60 seconds. My apologies.
No worries. Thanks. Since it is still questioned in some quarters, I just want to put a stake in the sand and make abundantly clear that climate change is real. It's happening right now, and it's being caused by humans. We can see the effects of extreme weather events, droughts, wildfires, warming seas, and falling water tables. And I want to work towards making all aspects of Langley city government carbon neutral and begin planning now for how to address our infrastructure that will be affected by rising sea level. With a limited budget, we need to actively pursue all grant opportunities to be able to make major advances in retrofitting for efficiency and relaying grants to individuals that whose properties will be affected by climate change. So we need to be focused on this in the years ahead, and through our comp plan and disaster preparedness, account for the threats that are coming.
Thank you. Question number 6. At the recent council meeting, it was suggested that the city of Langley may be facing financial problems. What would you do to make sure the city's finances are sound? And what are your thoughts about why this information is emerging so late in the budgeting process and calendar year? And Chris Carlson, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Yeah, this is an area that I was deep into this afternoon, right before this, as a part of a Finance and Personnel Commission meeting. It really comes down to a multitude of factors. We have onboarded a new finance director this year, and she has stepped into a very challenging situation with a outdated and poor financial system and years of mismanagement of the city's finances. Having a well-managed process that starts earlier in the year for developing a budget and monitoring the city's finances are absolutely essential. And as a city council member, is something that I will absolutely require. It's something that the council needs to be kept apprised of, where the city is at, where the money is going, and whether we are off budget. And so this council is going to need to make some tough decisions in the near future in order to make sure that we don't run out of money and that we can cover all of our bills. And so next Monday, there's a special council meeting where hopefully the public and the council will get more information on that topic.
Thank you. Kay Kennewick, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you, and I'm glad that Chris knows what's going on, has made the decisions, and the other people that are with our financial directors, because we really need to be able to pay the recent hires as the director and the like. So I just hope I'll be there at the meeting on Monday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Craig Sear, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Yes, I serve as a legislative commission member to the same commission that Chris just mentioned. We met at 3 o'clock. And what do we do to make sure that the city finances are sound? Well, we have the FPLC and we have some very dedicated volunteers. The council role in 2024 is going to be to hold staff accountable for regular reports that show the financial position of the city, hold the staff accountable for a regular, and I say the mayor and the administrator as well, for a regular, predictable budget process that delivers things on time. And that really has been an issue. We also have outdated and decrepit software that we desperately need to replace. It's going to be challenging because the software is expensive to replace. The replacement software, we have an RFI out to understand how much it's going to take. And the preferred software is $150,000, which makes it darn near impossible to do for Langley. So it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Anybody in Langley government is going to have to take a close look at this issue.
Thank you. We will now move on to the 2-minute closing statements by each of the candidates, and we will begin with Kay Kennewick. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me for this, the League of Women Voters and the Snow Isle Library. I appreciate letting my views be known on the Zoom. And I'm running for Langley City Council Position 3. Please vote for me. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Sear, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, thank you as well to the League of Women Voters and Snow Isle Libraries for partnering and putting this forum together. It's important that Langley residents see who is running for office. And my name is Craig Sear. My wife Susan and I moved to Langley in 2004, where we raised our 2 sons. And we so enjoy this coastal community. I ran for council in 2020 because I felt change was needed. I thought Langley needed to take a hard look at itself to see if it was living up to the story that it tells itself. For example, is it actually a truly friendly place for all people who live and visit here? Why hadn't Langley banned fireworks when most residents that I talked to wanted that to happen? Could island transit reduce its carbon footprint? And the answer to those questions is actually it's not as friendly as most people in Langley think it is. BIPOC individuals tell us that they sometimes and frequently avoid the city of Langley. We did ban fireworks. We found a pathway to do that. And could island transit reduce its carbon footprint? It most definitely can. We now have electric van pools, 5 of them. We have the $42 million transition plan to an electric fleet. And so I'm running for re-election to the Langley City Council because I am passionate about the future. And I want to continue the work I've been doing on the City Council towards this bright future. Our future, Langley's future, is an anti-racist future where people of all colors, identities, and abilities feel safe and included. I have led and I will continue to lead on issues of inclusivity, sustainability, the environment, workforce housing, and municipal financial integrity. And so with that, I will close. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Carlson, you have 2 minutes.
Firstly, thank you to the League of Women Voters, Snow Isle Libraries, and everyone listening to tonight's forum. This is what respectful participatory democracy looks like in action, and it's really exciting to take part in it. I'm running for City Council because our community faces many challenges, and I believe that the decisions that we make over the next 4 years will heavily influence the livability of our community for the next generation. In a small city like Langley, we need to make the most of our limited resources. And to me, that requires leaders who have technical knowledge of municipal management, professionalism, and disciplined focus on our community's highest priorities. I answered the call to serve because I know that my strengths and experience fit with what Langley needs right now. My career as a public servant, improving public services, and my executive master's degree in public administration are the type of experience that can make a difference. And I want to ensure that this next generation of Langley residents and those that follow enjoy a community that's inclusive and sustainable. To me, that means housing that's affordable for local workers and young families, a diverse economy that's resilient and robust year-round, a government that earns the trust of the public and regional stakeholders so that we can work together to tackle the challenges ahead, ensuring that our streets are safe, our utilities are efficient, and that we're doing our part to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and prepare for the unavoidable effects of climate change. If you share my vision for a more inclusive and sustainable future for Langley, please spread the word with your Langley friends and neighbors. Please share your perspectives, your hopes and concerns with me so that I can broaden my understanding of how to best serve everyone in our community. And I humbly ask for your vote on November 7th. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you to the Langley City Council candidates this evening, Chris Carlson, Kay Kennewick, and Craig Sear.
Thank you.
Next, we proceed. Okay. Next, we will proceed with our questions and answers for the panel of candidates for Whidbey Health Public Hospital Commissioner, positions 1 and 5. Present tonight for position 1 are candidates Morgan Cooper and Marion Juas. And for position 5, candidate Kate Rose. Candidate Eric Anderson unfortunately did not respond to our 3 invitations, so voters won't be able to hear his views. Whidbey Health Hospital Commissioner. The Whidbey Island Public Hospital District, operating as Whidbey Health, is organized to provide health care for everyone on Whidbey Island. Oversight is provided by a board of 5 elected commissioners. The Board of Commissioners is responsible for strategic direction and financial oversight of the district, including Whidbey Health Medical Center, its clinics, and various physician practices. Commissioners are elected for 6-year terms and represent distinct geographical areas on Whidbey Island. They meet monthly and act as liaisons between the hospital and the community. Question number 1. What are the 2 greatest professional strengths you will bring to the hospital board, and how will you leverage those strengths to meet the challenges of providing quality health care to county residents of all ages? And this question goes first to Marion Juas. You have 90 seconds to respond. Oh, you're unmuted, Marion.
I was sure to be the one to do that. There's one thing I want to correct in your opening statement, that there are no longer distinct districts for public hospital commissioners. It is an at-large position for all 5 commissioners. So the 2 greatest professional strengths I bring are, I'm a healthcare professional with a lifetime of experience working in large and small hospitals across the country and around the world, as I was a Air Force officer for 21 years. And I also bring my leadership and communication skills to this job. I understand healthcare from the ground up, and I understand how to communicate to the public. As a military spouse, I did a lot of education about services to the public, and I know I can bring that to the people of Whidbey Island.
Thank you. Morgan Cooper, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Perfect. Thank you for the opportunity, the League of Women Voters and our Snowall Library. I have over 18 years of internal hospital administration and healthcare, practice marketing, along with providing education and representing specialty services. I have been involved with many startups, new programs, and during my time at Swedish, we first launched Epic, which was the electronic medical health record. And so there's a lot of experience that goes into that. Measuring staff needs, growing support, billing, and provider documentation to support those services. Not only do I have experience, but I'm a community member who feels we need a committed voice that is truly here to represent our community and residents of Island County. Thank you.
Kate Rose, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you. So my biggest strengths that I believe I bring first are community building and the long-term investment that I have in the Whidbey Island community. I've served on a number of boards. I understand financial stewardship. I understand what it's about to build partnerships in a community, to build capacity for those organizations. The second piece that I think is really important is my financial ability to not only collect and interpret data, but do outcomes evaluation, to be able to read financial statements and understand them. As a researcher for the University of Washington, I managed multi-million-dollar grants and research projects, which involved a lot of reporting and definitely accountability for those millions of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2. Congressman Derek Kilmer has introduced the Rural Hospital Technical Assistance Program Act bill, which aims to aid rural hospitals. Do you support this bill, and why or why not? Morgan Cooper, you have 90 seconds to respond.
I believe that all rural hospitals really need a leg up. And the reason I say that is over 600 rural hospitals are in danger of closing. And when we look at over 60 million people in America live in rural settings with a lot of their members, their residents being elderly and probably in poor health, we really do need help with the rural hospitals. And I haven't looked into this bill and what he is completely proposing, but I do believe that our rural hospitals are important to our communities because, and especially here on Whidbey Island, when you think of the commute and the distance, we have people that live in Clinton that don't like to go to Freeland. So, you know, we need to make our healthcare accessible and available to all. And so as we look to our future, it will be very, very important to
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Get help.
So it's a little stuttery.
Strategically for the financial success of our rural hospitals, and that includes Whidbey Health.
Okay,
Do
Thank
you
you.
want to allow her to complete those sentences we couldn't hear?
yes, yeah, please feel free to complete your sentences even though you hear the
Have
time.
about 15 seconds more.
Okay,
I had 15 seconds more.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
because it was breaking up. And so I think that you have 15 seconds to.
Oh, well, I just thank you, ladies. I would just like to continue to echo what I just spoke, in that we do need to support the rural hospitals because they are so strategically important to healthcare, especially here on Whidbey Island, where we do have distance and other services not available to us so readily.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
no trouble. It was a breakup, a technical challenge. So thank you for working through that. Kate, Rose, you have 60 seconds to respond.
You know, I don't know that I'll need 60 seconds to respond. I have to tell you, I'm not familiar with the bill, and I'm not inclined to schmooze about that or to try to make something up. I will say that any support that hospitals can have is important, as Morgan was stating, but I just have to say I'm not familiar with the bill.
Thank you. Marian Jouas, you have 60 seconds to respond, and be sure and unmute.
Yes, thank you. I'm pretty excited about this bill because it's a bipartisan bill and we need more of this in the federal government. And it's designed to help rural hospitals stay operating, prevent closures, expand services to people across the nation. I'd be very excited for any of our Congress people to come to Whidbey and see our unique challenges that we face every day, particularly with a Navy base that is sending us more and more patients, and we have a low reimbursement. So any help from the federal government for rural hospitals across the state of Washington, and particularly here in Whidbey, would be most appreciated.
Thank you. Question 3. As rural hospitals continue to disappear or consolidate with larger medical organizations, some of which are religious, how do you see Whidbey Health moving forward to remain independent and viable? Kate, Rose, you get 90 seconds to respond.
Okay. Well, I believe that that Whitby Health is not likely to be put in a position for it to be merged with a larger hospital. I think that the CEO of the hospital has said that, you know, he's had that experience, and that his experience is that when that happens, it's the little hospital that just bleeds. The assets get absorbed by the larger one. So my thought is that anything that it takes to keep that from happening will be happening. I know there are a lot of concerns as well, especially if a larger hospital takes over, that you not only lose the assets and a lot of the cash flow, but you lose the feel of the community and the response to the community that the hospital has otherwise. The other thing for us is that I don't know if people realize and think about the fact that not only could we potentially lose healthcare if we're absorbed by a larger hospital, but all of the jobs that are associated with that, and all of the experiences that youth can have. Oh, sorry. At that time.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Marion,
So when
Juas, you have 60 seconds.
So when larger health systems take over, they tend to take services away. And so say they would go to Providence and they would refer you more and more to Providence. So we'd have less and less services on the island. Also, decisions would be made maybe 2,000 miles away where the major headquarters is. So they don't really know our island. It's all cookie cutter. They would just decide all hospitals of this size are treated this way, and we would no longer have care targeted to the people of our island. And we need to be very vigilant on this. We need to provide services that our community needs. We need to negotiate with payers to ensure that we have adequate reimbursement for the services that we provide. And we need to be very forward-looking and proactive and always looking to stay solvent.
Thank you. Morgan, you have 60 seconds. Morgan Cooper, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you. I have to echo my opponent, Marion. It is so important and really very strategic that we maintain our local healthcare. Larger hospitals like Providence and Swedish rely on referrals, and they already have those from us here on the island. We are a critical access hospital, so we don't treat everything on that level. But it is important for us moving forward that we continue to build our resources, our providers, the types of services that our community needs, while looking at our payer mixes and our just the reimbursements that we are receiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 4. Our community is aging, which brings a variety of new health issues for residents while they are dealing with inflation and increased medical, transportation, and grocery costs. Specialists are often not available on Whidbey Island, and driving off the island is not possible or affordable for many. Appointments for local doctors can take months. What solutions would you put in place to improve local access to healthcare while controlling costs? And Marion Ajuas, you may have 90 seconds to answer.
If I can answer this in 90 seconds, that would be a miracle. So this is a nationwide problem. Yes, it's more common in rural areas, but it's also very important all over the country and communities of all sizes. There are not enough providers in the nation right now. I wish I had better news, but we don't. There just aren't enough providers. We can look at perhaps bringing specialists over on a monthly basis to help have patients be seen there. And then they would still have to go over for further follow-ups or special procedures if they needed to do that. I'm not optimistic for this being a great solution for us, because we're a critical access hospital, and by that we're limited in the scope of what we can do, and we can't provide all services to all people. I think that's a reality of choosing to live on the island, and Whidbey Health will continue to look forward to ways to provide more specialists, but it's going to be a very big challenge.
Thank you. Morgan Cooper, you have 60 seconds to respond.
It is, as I mentioned before, with over 60 million Americans living in rural healthcare locations, that our services are challenged, our hospitals are challenged. But with driving off island and going to the larger hospitals, we have and we are looking in-depthly at the services that will be beneficial. We've added a urologist. We're moving women's health. We reopened our birthing center last year after having been closed. We are making changes within our structure to try to meet the needs of our community. And I think that that is that forward thinking that we need as we as a board sit and help to make the decisions that will benefit our residents and our healthcare in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Rose, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Yes, well, Marion mentioned, the ultimate solution for providers, for finding more providers, it's to have more space and more residency programs and more nursing programs and more output. And but I think one thing that we could be looking at right now is how can we leverage maybe some of the providers that we have. So, if you look at the school system, we had teachers, paraeducators and teachers' aides paraeducators have been used for more and more and more things now than they ever were before. Physical therapists now have physical therapy aides. Perhaps there's some other levels of health providers that can be made, something that can start to address the situation now. I know, like when we look at the EMTs in the field and they're getting called for everything, what can be done to triage that? So how can we assist, especially our older adults, with having discussions and sort of triaging them into a level of care that they can meet, get some special needs, certain needs met, and then maybe escalate it to the higher level when it's really, really critical to do so. So that's something that's been percolating in my mind for a while.
Thank you. Question 5. Rural hospitals across the country and the state face significant financial pressures, and in recent years, Whidbey Health has had serious financial issues. Do you believe financial oversight is one of your primary responsibilities as a commissioner? If yes, what experience and qualifications would you bring to such oversight? And Morgan Cooper, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Well, my seat I took on February 1st of this year, and I am on the finance committee. So we have been working really hard at turning our rural hospital around, and we've made vast improvements. We're at one point, we were so close, 3 days from closing with that cash on hand. We currently sit anywhere from 34 to 50 days cash on hand, as it varies for a number of reasons. But we shifted money into the state investment account, and that generates an additional $500,000 a year to our hospital. We located an employee retention credit that was offered by the CARES Act that will bring around $8 million to the hospital sometime in our first quarter. This money was available due to the hard work of our employees all throughout COVID, and because they kept our hospital open. We made a decision to purchase a piece of property worth close to $1 million so that we could add additional important billable services to our healthcare system. All of this turnaround is having a great effect of recruiting also additional providers. People who worked off at Skagit and Island and Providence in town and the like are coming back to the hospital to work. There are grants for the additionals of behavioral health provider. We added one, we're adding 2 more. We're making
Fine.
changes with the walk-in clinic. So many things are taking place right now to change our finances. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate, Rose, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify the question. Was my understanding correct that you wanted to know what my skills were that I bring, or I wasn't quite sure, having listened to Morgan's response?
One, do you believe financial oversight is one of your responsibilities? And if you do believe it is, what experience and qualifications would you bring?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's critical. I think that is probably our top responsibility. And in terms of what I bring, you know, I have a fortunate little pot of experiences to come from. I've been a business owner. I've learned very quickly how to create and read and manage financial reports and understand them, and to know when it's time to get serious or whether things are looking really good. Like I mentioned earlier, I've managed multi-million-dollar grant projects for the federal government, and that requires answering some tough questions and making sure you're really on top of things. And then I have worked on a number of boards where financial stewardship is the primary responsibility of a board member. So I feel very strongly that that is my primary role.
Thank you. Marion Jouas, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you. Yes, I do believe financial oversight is one of the primary responsibilities of a commissioner, and hasn't always been so closely monitored in the past. I believe the commissioners have to ask the really hard questions and keep asking them until they get the answers on financial oversight. The new CFO is doing a great job on creating financial reports that have graphics and visuals that are very digestible to the public. And I encourage the public to look at some of the videos of the meetings and see these reports, because it will really help you understand where we are. And my experiences are that I have a master's degree in healthcare systems management, and I've worked at medium to senior levels in hospitals across the country. And I've been on many, many boards, done budgeting and budgeting oversight and financial management. And I'm president of the Whitby Health Foundation. We help raise money for the hospital, and we are very careful about where we spend our money at the hospital. And so I'm very involved with the hospital expenses.
Thank you. Question 6. The hospital's Board of Commissioners currently does not have a healthcare professional among its members. Please tell us what your professional healthcare experience you would bring to our hospital board, and if you have none, what other experience you have that would add value to the board's membership. And Kate, Rose, you may have 90 seconds to respond to this.
Thank you. Well, my career started as a respiratory therapist in a small community hospital in Central California. And in that particular position, I was able to move on and not only work as a therapist in the acute setting, but in pulmonary rehabilitation, in home care. It's just, I kind of have that whole scope. I know how to work with multidisciplinary teams. I understand the perspective of a physician versus a lab technician. What it takes to make something happen and you all work together. I directed the continuing education program for the hospital I worked in. But it was actually once I moved to Whidbey Island and was able to work for the public health department and on the community health advisory board that I really had an opportunity to learn even more about community assessment and development and the kinds of partnerships that it takes to make something happen in a community health-wise. And that it's not just about being in an acute care hospital setting, but that health is found in many, many areas and many, many organizations in our community. And I feel like I bring a wealth of experience in terms of health. Yeah, I'm very excited about that opportunity.
Thank you. Marion Jouas, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, I think it's vital that there's at least one healthcare professional on the Board of Commissioners. You're running a hospital system from clinics all the way up through a hospital. You must have someone who's had experience actually day and night working in a medical facility. I have 40 years of experience as a registered nurse, all different levels and all different locations around the world. I'm passionate about healthcare. I'm passionate about keeping healthcare on Whidbey Island and making sure that all of our citizens are treated with respect and dignity at our hospital. I'm passionate about the people who work at Whidbey Health on all levels. We need to appreciate the people who work at our hospital and clinics more and more because they're doing yeoman's work. We just can't thank them enough. And I look forward to being their commissioner.
Thank you. Morgan Cooper, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, I am a healthcare professional. I've been a clinic administrator. I've been the marketing director for St. Luke's Medical Center, IASIS. I've worked with Kindred Care. I put together programs and contracts that worked well with the hospital there in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a wealth of information and knowledge and experience. You know, people might not think that marketing is that big of a deal, but when you learn to tell the story, being in healthcare, you tell the story of our hospital every single day. And we're building a wonderful turnaround for our Whidbey Health. And so I think that my experience and my year of serving, I would like to continue to do that. And I feel that my experiences is a positive to the board as it exists at this point.
Time.
Thank you. Question number 7, and our final question. How could Whidbey Health better support and expand healthcare services for women of all ages, ranging from childbearing age up through senior women? And Marion, you have 90 seconds to respond to this.
Well, they're just going to open a new building for women's healthcare so that there'll be more space for the providers and able to see more women of all ages. They could expand, Whidbey Health could expand services down on the south for women's services, maybe have some women care one day a week, come down and in the clinics down here on the south end of the island. Where the family birthplace has expanded many providers recently, and so is able to take in more childbearing women. And probably pediatrics would be a really big area where Whidbey Health could expand. There's a real need for more pediatric providers, and while that is not directly relating to women, it does relate to all those moms who need a pediatrician for their children.
Thank you. Kate, you have 60 seconds to respond to this question.
Well, I don't have very much to add to what Marion just said, other than to repeat some of that as far as what the hospital is doing. I think one thing the hospital can do, not only in this topic, but others as well, but specifically to women, is to go out into the community and ask them. I feel really strongly that that's a bigger space for the hospital to fill in all areas. Is what does the community want? What do women want? What do women need? I don't know, at least I haven't heard of or been part of a focus group or a conversation or a community meeting where the women from the community have been asked. So I would say, aside from the positive things that are already happening, I would love to see some forums that are specific to women of all ages in the community environment to ask, you know, what would you like? How can we help you? How can we be there for you?
Thank you. Morgan Cooper, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, as what has also been shared, the The Women's Health Center is being moved. We will have that open the first part of January. It will have more space for our women's health. And I believe truly that we do have some good support with Would Be Health. We have mammograms at our walk-in clinics. And I have had mine there as well, and they're wonderful. The childbearing, we opened our hospital to birthing. We have beautiful birthing center. And, you know, that was closed for the longest time. So in terms of expansion and helping with our seniors and our young moms, education, I think adding education to some of our outlying areas would be very beneficial to moms. So we'll continue to do what we're doing and grow that for sure.
Thank you. And now let's move on to some closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement, and we will begin with Kate Rose.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and Snow Isle Libraries, not only for this opportunity, but for this platform. Somebody was asking me earlier how I felt about Zoom meetings. And I said, well, you know, while it takes away from that sort of interpersonal piece of being able to see body language, it certainly does give us the opportunity to reach out to more people over more geography and more time. So thank you for that. I'm running for Public Hospital Commissioner position 5 because I have been part of this Whidbey Island community for over 27 years. I feel strongly about good healthcare. I feel strongly about community and community building. I'm glad that Marion at the very beginning of this and mentioned the fact that we are no longer in districts. I am not representing Oak Harbor or Coopville or the South. I'm representing my community, which is very important to me, and that all people are able to thrive and be healthy. And with a healthy and thriving hospital, we can create that healthy and thriving community. I have experience in healthcare. I have experience in finances. More than that, I am known and recognized for my experience in community building and creating partnerships, inspiring teams of people to work together and to make the magic happen. I hope that you're ready to see some magic happening. I'm very encouraged by what's going on at the hospital right now. I think things are going in a wonderful direction, and I know that I can be part of making that even better. I hope that you agree and that you will cast your vote for me, Kate Rose, Public Hospital Commissioner, position 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Morgan Cooper, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and to our Snow Isle Library for hosting tonight's forum of candidates. I think it's always interesting to have, especially City Council and the rest of that tonight. So, and our mayor candidates. But why should people vote for me? In closing, I had my first child at Would Be Health eons ago. We won't go into the years of how old my baby is. I've been a part of this community for the better part of my life. I raised my family here, and I'm a committed community member with hospital, healthcare administration, and marketing experience. This seat requires a commitment to help build an important bridge of communication between the residents, the businesses, and the hospital. We have to ensure it is well managed and accountable to the community it serves. A board member doesn't need to be a healthcare nurse or provider in order to ensure that there is a balance of making decisions that will affect the hospital's care of its community. It does require someone who can provide input from the community as their representative. I have been serving since February 1st of this year, and I believe I've made a significant progress in speaking to the concerns that we as a community have had about our Would Be Health. I humbly ask for your vote, and I would like to continue to turn this ship around. We've done a good job. It's not going down the drain. It's moving in the right direction, and I would appreciate your vote come November 7th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Marion Juas, you have 2 minutes.
I'd really like to thank the League of Women Voters and Snow Owl Libraries for putting on this event. And I really want to thank those of you out there in Whidbey land that are still with us at 1933 on a Tuesday night and believe in independent quality healthcare on Whidbey Island. I certainly do. My husband and I chose to live here since 2015. We had the world to choose from, and we picked Whidbey Island. And one of the main reasons we chose to live here was because of the healthcare on the island. So I'm fully committed to keeping it here and having it advance. I'm committed to researching outside ideas and new ideas to keep it vital and growing and solvent. I will look to communicate more with the community, and I think a way a commissioner could step in and do that tomorrow is to make sure that the hospital minutes are posted within 7 days of a meeting, and that the hospital videos are posted the next day, just like this forum is, so that the community can see what's going on in these meetings. I want to be able to go out and speak and have public forums with the community and hear what their needs are, and to tell the good news of Whidbey Health and all of our people who work there, and some good stories of the patients that are taken care of that I hear about every single day. So I enthusiastically and humbly ask for your vote, and please vote. It's very important for the health of our community. Thanks.
Thank you to the candidates for the hospital commissioner. For position 1, Morgan Cooper and Marion Schuas, and for position 5, Kate Rose. And that concludes our questions for this evening. Thank you all for attending. I want to recognize Carla Grau-Egerton, Forum Committee Chair, and my fellow committee members for their hard work. And a special thanks to our League co-president and platform manager, Carol Pulliam, for making our virtual forums a success. One final note, ballots have been mailed out. If you haven't received a ballot by October 30th, contact the auditor's office at 360-678-8290. To find a secure ballot drop box near you, go to elections@islandcountylaw.gov. If you choose to mail your ballot, remember that it must be postmarked on or before Election Day, November 7th. And if you or someone you know has not yet registered to vote, you can still register until October 30th, or in person you can register online until October 30th, or in person at the auditor's office on Election Day. Thank you again, and have a good evening.